Season 3 of Passion Projects, the show where we explore the journeys of people who've turned their passions into a reality and the lessons they've learned along the way. Hi, I'm Payal, and growing up, math and science were never my strong suits. Just ask my mom. But I knew one thing for sure. If I wasn't going to be great at playing sports, I was going to do something pertaining to them. And that's what sparked my love for radio and television production. It was interning with Raptors TV where I fell in love with producing. I was drafting paper edits and working with an editor to bring episodes of Raptors Heartbeat to life. There was a desire for me to learn what was done behind the scenes as much as what was done in front of the camera. And that's what brings me to today's guest, Parker Rutten, the creator of Behind the Broadcast, which has generated, to date, over 300,000 followers on Instagram alone. He's built a community across all social media platforms and is pulling back the curtain behind the scenes of the sports, media, and TV production world. He does not just inspire and educate the next generation of broadcasters, but also spends time highlighting the professionals who've worked behind the scenes to bring a production to life. We dive into how Parker's built his audience, the pivotal moments in his journey, and the advice he has for anyone chasing their own dream in sports media. So without further ado, let's get into it. Parker, thank you so much for joining me today on Passion Projects. I'm so honored to have you here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I want to begin by I ask all my guests this, in this state of the world we're in now, what is currently bringing you joy?
What brings me joy? Um, Family always comes first, so I think time with family. To give you a little bit of backstory, I work a lot on the road. I'm a broadcast freelancer, and so I travel about 200 days out of the year to different sporting events. So I'm a part of a lot of the biggest infrastructure installs on the largest sporting events in the world. So that takes me away from my family a lot, and so I think family is the number one thing that I would say keeps me going. But a close second is just the constant progress I see with behind the broadcast, and I think that's why we're talking today.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what brings me to my first question. What drew you to the world of broadcasting in the first place, too? And how did you know that that was something you wanted to pursue long term?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I don't know if it's something I always wanted to pursue. I always knew I wanted to be a part of sports, one way or another. Maybe I was going to be like a trainer, or sorry, let me mute my dang phone. That's so annoying. So maybe I wanted to be a trainer, or just somehow be a part of sports. And I always did know that I wanted to like be a part of TV a little bit. Never in front of the camera, always behind the camera. And so I actually grew up in Utah,
Wow.
and after high school, I had some opportunities to go out to California and study television. And this wasn't like your normal broadcast TV. It was more like studying multicam studio shows, kind of like The Boy Meets World or That 70s Show or things like that. And so I kind of just got involved studying that kind of TV stuff. And then an opportunity happened with my school. I went to Cal State Northridge. It's in the Valley of Los Angeles, and so opportunity happened at my school where we were upgrading our entire sports infrastructure, our basketball gym, and we were getting all these new cameras and things like that. And so I was asked, "Hey Parker, would you like to come run camera for us in the new sports in the new gym?" And I was like elated. I said, "Sure, this is kind of where what I want to do anyways." And then next thing I knew, I found myself filming sports. It was pretty cool on a very low level. This was just for if you know what a jumbotron is, or like that the main feed that just is in the gym. Maybe 50 people are watching it, 100 people are watching it. But yeah, that's what it was for, and that's kind of how I got started.
So, how nerve wracking, I guess, was it for you from the get-go, and then did it kind of ease as you went along?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, it wasn't nerve wracking at all because I was going to a small school, or it was a really big school, but we had a very small program. Maybe there were 60 people in the stands watching, and they're watching the game. They're not watching what's really up on the screen, you know. And so I came into broadcast with like no pressure on my shoulders. Just hey, go out there with a camera, kid, make $10 an hour, and you'll be good if you get a replay or two during the game. And so that's kind of how it was. And so it's not like there's a lot of other students these days that are actually thrown into these big productions because the way television and the media is moving is towards remote productions, and this means that a lot of colleges are hiring their students to do these big ESPN shows because either they don't want to pay for they don't have the budget to bring the professionals out to those colleges or whatever. So you could be like a student going to Auburn and be putting on a broadcast for like hundreds of thousands of people. But luckily for me, it was just 50 people that I was starting out inside a little small basketball gym. So no pressure was on me.
That's so interesting because just like you, I remember I grew up in Toronto, Ontario, where I remember all my teachers would tell me for us to get into the market, we had to start off in a small market and kind of work our way into Toronto, into the big city. However, it was difficult if you wanted to be either a producer, director, camera, anything. These smaller markets were so small that they kind of had their own infrastructure as well. So breaking into the industry wasn't the same as, I don't know, maybe it was in the US because you had multiple smaller markets. Did you find that that was the trajectory for you? Like, did you start off in many different smaller markets and then kind of work your way to the
Yeah,
main?
yeah, that's definitely a good point. I think everybody has their own way into broadcast, which is really cool. Broadcast is like, especially like freelance broadcasting, it's a special industry where you really don't have to have a higher education. You don't have to go to college. You could literally come right out of high school and be just as successful as the next person. And
It,
so,
yeah.
and so, yeah, so my road, I did start small. I started small with my college, and then I was able to network and meet people that were working alongside of my college that had other opportunities in other smaller markets, and that's kind of just how my network kind of grew. I started small, then I went to another network, and then I got some opportunities at that network. I met the right people in that network, and that took me to the next place. And so, I guess that ladder was like college, and then it was my single college, and then it was broadcasting like the colleges around my college,
Yeah.
and then it was like I want to start doing the bigger shows. I want to go to the Pac-12, and so I want to do these big USC games and things like that. And so then I started doing those games as well, and it all just comes from like meeting the right people and doing a good job on each level, and then that kind of takes you to the next place. And that's kind of how my career was. I did college, small level college to normal size college to like the pros basically. And every time, I started out as a cameraman, but the higher I got, the more I had to humble myself into a lower position, if
Mm.
that makes sense. Maybe lower is not a good word for it, but a more elementary position. You go from being a cameraman all the way down to a PA, and so then I was a PA in like the professional leagues for many years, and then I had to raise those ranks.
How did that kind of, you talk about humbling you, but at the same time, you got to learn multiple positions too. So did you find that as a success in that sense that you were able to like, just gain those skills though to help
Yeah,
you grow?
I'm glad you asked that because I think that is a really big part of my career path is being exposed to a lot of different levels
Mhm.
of broadcast because there are a lot of people that come in because maybe their father or their mother worked in the industry and they just got brought in as a camera person and they didn't work those lower levels, or maybe they got brought in as like a producer or like a operations person and they didn't work those lower levels.
Mhm.
And so I think that really did give myself an upper hand because I could really relate to all levels of broadcast. And it especially impacts now behind the broadcast because I can really relate to all these different types of positions because I've worked nearly every position.
Exactly, exactly. Which brings me to talking and discussing behind the broadcast as well. So when COVID hit, the stadiums were empty. What was going on in your mind creatively? Like, did you immediately know that you wanted to document it?
Yeah, you did your research a little bit, huh? Or did you hear about Sports with No Fans? So,
No, I did.
yeah,
I did my research. Yes.
yeah, that's good. So, what you're referring to is yes, during COVID, uh, broadcasters were considered essential workers because we had to continue sports because we know how crazy the world was going at that time, and sports was a great distraction from all of that. And so, as a broadcast freelancer, I was allowed to be in some of these arenas with a bunch of my friends and my small network, and no one could see what was going on in those arenas. And so, I created a page called Sports with No Fans, and it was just kind of a joke, like just kind of like I was so bored during COVID, um, and uh,
You
and we
mean
were
you
just
weren't
kind.
making banana bread with all the other ones or sourdough bread?
No, no, yeah, exactly. No, so it was just kind of fun. So I got with my friends. I said, "Hey, I'm going to make a page called Sports and No Fans, and let's just show what's going on in the broadcast industry because no one can see." And that's where it kind of took off. You know, I don't know if you remember, there were like cardboard cutouts, like just in the stands trying to fill seats, and then there were virtual fans that would like virtual in and things like that.
Exactly. No, I remember the virtual fans and just being like, how was it though? Like, just you were amongst just a small amount of people in, like, for example, with the NBA in this little bubble. Did you ever feel scared or fear anything that you would get COVID, or you were just kind of keeping your distance and then just focusing on creating this platform?
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a fear I was going to get COVID. We were COVID tested
Mm, yeah.
so much. I got a thing jammed up my nose, up to my brain,
Oh gosh.
like so
Mm.
often, more often than probably most people in this world. Like we were getting COVID tested every single week, and then if anyone had symptoms, like you were off the show. Like they sent you home. And so, yes, people were getting COVID, but they kept it like really secure. I mean, especially like the bubble, for instance. I wasn't in the bubble; I was in the tennis bubble, but
Mm.
I had a bunch of friends in the NBA bubble, and they were so safe, and those places were like so secure of like any outside uh, antigens or whatever it is that could come in. Um, that they were like, everyone felt pretty safe, but it was a weird time. It was a really weird time because like you would be in these arenas, and it was you and the player and maybe the coaches. So you're in a stadium that sits 30,000 people, and you're literally like right next to the player, and you're talking to him because there's no one else to talk to, and he has no one else or she has no one else to talk to. It was really interesting.
It was, and then I guess from that sparked your platform as well.
Yeah, so Sports No Fans started taking off a little bit. I
Mhm.
got like 1,500 followers very organically, just and they were all broadcast people because we were showing what was going on in broadcast. And then, after a year or so of that, the fans did come back. And so now I had this following of like 1,500 people. I think I got it up to about 2,800 people by the time the fans came back. And I always kind of had this idea in my mind, like, hey, let's show more what's going on in broadcast because at the time, um, having your phone out during work or documenting any of the behind the scenes stuff was very taboo. Like it was to a point. I remember when I first started my career, like you didn't have your cell phone out. Like it was like, it was no go, no filming, don't show anything what's going on behind the scenes.
Mhm.
And then it seems like after COVID, there was like this kind of revolution of like people with the creation of things like Snapchat and Instagram stories and things like that. And all of a sudden, people are sharing what they're doing. And I'm like, hey, why can't I just be a platform for people to share to, and then I can share it to a larger audience? And that's what it's been about. It's always been about the people, the community. It's never been about myself growing a page or making money or anything like that. It's all been about the behind the scenes and highlighting the people behind the scenes, because I really saw that there's just like there's all this really cool stuff to be shown, and there's these really talented people to be highlighted, and
Mhm.
those people never see the limelight until recently.
It's so true. I mean, you went from 0 to 231,000. I mean, I remember when I opened up an Instagram account for the NBA and going to from 0 to 100K in 4 months, but a large
Wow.
part of that was the assistance of the NBA All-Star Game coming to Toronto in 2016, and the NBA obviously sharing content.
Sure.
But for you, how did you do it? And I mean, what was that mindset? Um,
Yeah. The mindset was, all right, this stuff is really cool. I'm going to share a video of the behind the scenes. And so it was myself, I was working a game, and I was showed a cameraman. He had the camera on his shoulder, and he was filming Steph Curry, like the Golden State Warriors, and I can't remember who they're playing, but Chris Paul was on the other team. But anyways, the cameraman was like doing his thing and going from player to player, and then zooming in on the ball while it goes into the net. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I talked to I filmed him doing that, and I was able to because his camera actually had like a little flip up screen, and so I was filming his flip up screen while he was working. And then afterwards, after work, I went up to him and I said, "Hey, man, I watched your work. I think it's amazing stuff. Do you care if I share it to my small little platform of like I think it was 2,600 followers at the time?" Yeah, man, no problem, sure. And I reshared it, and then it got picked up by Sports Center,
mhm, mhm.
and then I went from like 2,600 followers to like 6,000 followers, like in just a week or so. And so that's when I knew I was like, that's my proof of concept. And it's funny you just mentioned the All Star game, because my next big moment came at the Cleveland All Star game in
Yeah,
2022, maybe? Yeah,
I think
2022.
so. Yeah.
And I kind of did the same thing. I knew, hey, the world really liked that last video. This video is even cooler because it's a cameraman during the 3 point contest, zooming in on the ball, zooming out on the ball, going to the players and
So
things like
cool.
that. And so I got behind him and I filmed him shooting, and then that's when my really breakthrough happened. It was I filmed again. I filmed the video. I asked the camera operator, "Hey, do you care if I share this to the platform?" Sure, why not? And that's when uh, Sports Center picked it up, Bleacher
House of
Report picked it
highlights.
up, House of Highlights, every big like movie film page picked it up, and it just like this video went mega viral. And I went from like 6,000 followers to like 19,000 followers in like one night. And then after that, it was just proof of concept. Now I had 19,000 followers to work with, and I was starting to understand what people were enjoying, and I was starting to realize, hey, nobody has ever seen this kind of content before. And reached out to my friends and started doing a little bit of a merch line, and then next thing you knew, it was just kept growing and growing and growing and growing, and it's like a snowball. You know, the more momentum it has going down the hill with more people, it's just going to keep growing and growing. But the second that snowball stops and the momentum stops, it's really hard to get that snowball back up and going.
It's so true. And you bring up momentum, and you mentioned it as a driving force for you. How did you maintain that momentum in a world where the algorithm is always working against us?
That is so true. It's the
Yeah.
hardest thing. It's the hardest thing I work with. That's a great question. The way I do it is belief. just continuing to believe. And I've got, if you ask my wife, a work ethic that just is, to her, it's almost too much. I continue to believe in myself. I continue to push myself, knowing that, hey, I'm hitting a wall right now, but the more I keep knocking on that wall, it's gonna break eventually. And so there's been many, many times in my career now, in the behind the broadcast lifespan, where I've literally hit a wall, like I've flatlined, and then I got to go back and think, like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing different? How can I make this better? And it's just trying to continue to be positive and work on things and implement new things to try and beat this algorithm that is just so difficult to play with.
It's so true because I feel like we're all human, right? And we're all trying to figure it out. Um, and then the same way, I mean, do you ever experience burnout? I know you're trying to stay positive, stay in your craft, but when you kind of hit those roadblocks, like what do you do to get over that?
Yeah, burnout is very real.
So real.
Very, very, very real. What do I do? I just try and focus on the goal. I try and set new goals. I try and, like, burnout was very, very real the beginning of this summer to me.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, I got this opportunity with the Savannah Bananas, and then my mind just became like, it was just like a rejuvenation almost. Like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, like we have this new project to work on. Like, let's hammer this hard. Let's hammer this hard. Let's hammer this hard. And then you start to think, okay, because you're working on this new project, the other stuff that was burning you out, it almost becomes like support. Like, I see it as like support, like, where, like, if I don't continue doing the stuff that's burning me out, then the Savannah Bananas project isn't going to be nearly as successful. And so it's like, I don't know, I have this ability, I think, just to continue to persevere. I think it takes a lot of perseverance, and it takes a lot of just like belief.
I mean, you do. I'm reading and doing my research. There was a colleague who mentioned to you you grew a rose out of a split in
Yeah,
in the
out of
concrete.
a piece of concrete. Yeah, yeah. So that was he was so right. That was a big moment of my burnout, actually. Like, in the early days, and he was talking to him like, "Hey man, I don't know if I want to continue doing this." I told everybody, after I hit 5,000 followers, I'm done with this. Like, I'm not really a social media guy. I'm a behind the scenes guy. I'm done. 5,000 followers, I'm done. And that was around the time where he told me, he's like, "Yeah, you grew a rose out of a crack in the cement." The crack in the cement being COVID, and then arose with behind the broadcast. And so, it's just little things like and it's digging into the people that helped get you there, and
Mhm.
not wanting to let people down. Like, that's the reason why I have this, like, board right here. These are like all my closest friends, my family, the people that believe in me most, that want me to continue on and complete my goals.
Exactly. And it was your family too that you went to when you decided to really change the name because as fans were coming to continue to file into the stadiums, you had to pivot, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's exactly it. And I think that goes with life. Like, whenever something changes, you have to pivot. You have to adjust. You have to run with the punches. Um, because if you just continue doing the same thing over and over, and everything else is changing around you, you're going to get left in the past. And, like, Sports with No Fans was a great opportunity. It was a great springboard. But had it stayed Sports with No Fans, and I even if I had posted that same content and it was still Sports with No Fans, it would not have gotten nearly the traction. It's amazing how much SEO and the algorithm and just people seeing the name behind the broadcast, because it had immediately told people what they were expecting to see when they came to the page. It's amazing how the name changed the whole outlook of the company.
You found that niche and you like were really able to cement that and to really go full on with it too. So, I mean, so impressive. Which brings me to when it comes to deciding what moments are worth capturing and sharing on behind the broadcast, how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, like you said, the riches are in the niches. I think that's one of the best quotes that apply to my life. Um, but to answer your question, how do I go about it? So I think the page and the platform has been so successful because it's like a for us by us page. So like I'm in the trenches. I understand what's going on. I'm not this corporate company that's filtering behind the scenes stuff that they don't even know what they're looking at. I know what I'm looking at. And so when it comes to being featured on the page, it has to hit like these certain um
Thresholds?
what's yeah, thresholds, exactly. These certain thresholds where number one, it has to be engaging. Number
Mhm.
two, normally educational. Has someone seen it before? Like, can someone get something out of it? Um, yeah, and number three, just it's just like shareable. Like, can will people want to share this to their friend or something like that? And and there's a lot of like I get probably 40 to 50 DMs a day,
Wow.
and a lot of it is me just filtering through it, like seeing, what does this fit the page, like, or
Mhm.
am I just reposting the same kind of content over and over again? Am I boring my community? So it's all about like keeping a variety. Like, there might be actually the same video posted in America in Arizona, but if that same video, same style, is posted in Germany, I'll
Yeah.
probably post that just because it's from Germany and it shows variety and it shows um, shows
People
new
doing it,
opportunities.
yeah, people
Yeah,
doing it somewhere else as well.
exactly. Like I love sharing stuff like in Africa, in the
Mhm.
Philippines, and just because it gives people a new perspective, it shows people what's going on outside of the United States, and vice versa. I think that's why the platform has become such a global recognized so globally is because these other countries like Africa and the Philippines and uh, you know um, other places, they haven't seen that kind of stuff before. They've seen the TV, they've seen the final product of like a massive NFL football game, but they've never seen how it's made, and so like for me to be able to show how the sausage is made of those really big broadcasts, I think gives the other side of the world like some really cool insight that they've never had the opportunity of seeing.
Well, and you've also gone from creation to curation. And how do you think that that has changed or has it with the
Yeah,
relationship with your community?
yeah. So it's a fine line.
Yeah.
Definitely the community still likes create curation. No,
Okay.
creation. Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
the community still likes the stuff that's shared from other people.
Yeah.
But again, with the algorithm, and again with adapting with the times and trying to um, create my own organic content, like
Mhm.
I've had to try to find ways where it's still educational and it still appeals to what the community is looking for, but it's not the same information that they're getting because it's really hard because I'm trying to think of how to say it. It's actually something I struggle with the most, and that's why I can't even like put it into words right now because
Totally.
it's trying to keep your community happy and you're now doing it rather than other people are doing it.
Yep.
And so but the algorithm's so difficult because the algorithm sees like when you take other people's content or if it's been reposted, the algorithm's immediately gonna like suppress it rather than if it was my own organic video and it's the first time being shown on the internet, the algorithm's gonna blow it up. And
It's true.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's why it's been really, really important to me to try and create my own content, like starting a podcast. I'm coming up on the second season of my podcast, and we're trying to do some more educational stuff um, created by us that that can help grow this brand.
which I love too, because you've turned the camera lens to the people who don't get that spotlight. Why do you think it's so important to do that? And has there been a surprising reaction to you facilitating these interviews with those behind the scenes?
Yeah, I think the reaction's been really, really well received. Um, because like we said, like these people never really got the highlight. They never were talked about. They never were shown. And so now like just to be telling their stories, it's really neat. And people are watching, people are listening, people are taking notes, are being people are being inspired by some of these other workers that have been in the industry for 30 years, because at the end of the day, like a lot of these camera operators or graphics people or engineers, they're putting on some of the biggest productions in the world, and it's something really cool, like to be able to say, hey, that's what I've done, like. And so there's a lot of desire to be kind of some of those people. um, and so yeah, so that's why I think it's been really special to be able to share some of those people's stories.
I find it so inspirational too. And I think that you really nailed it when you talk about these people as well. And like, I find that you've also expressed that it's not just the industry, those in the industry that are watching, but it's also those casual fans who want to really understand what happens behind the scenes that are really also engaging with your content as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not just the people in the industry; it's people outside the industry as well that are just really interested in, like, what's going on, how does that work. And that's really part of the platform as well. It's just the educational aspect about it, and teaching
Mhm.
teaching people that want to get into the industry, or giving people new opportunities to come into the industry, because right now to get in the industry it's pretty tough, to be honest. Like you really have to know somebody, you have to like get a break or meet someone that's going to bring you into the industry or be a family member. But my platform is here to try and break those bridges and create new bridges for people to come into the industry organically. Like college, I went to college, take it for what it is. I learned a lot from it, but
Same.
it's not something I don't think you that is essential to come in the industry and be a good worker. Um, and so maybe you come in and you learn some of the trades at a young age, um, and you get an opportunity through behind the broadcast. And so that's kind of what I want to allow those opportunities for, because college isn't for everybody.
I agree with that as well, because I remember for me when I was getting into the industry, a large part of what I was doing was these internships. So it was really getting cutting your teeth in the actual line of work that you were doing. So whether that be producing or whether that be, podcasting or being on camera, but that's how you were able to understand and gain that experience. I remember, just like you mentioned, everyone be like, you need to attain that experience to get yourself out there. But if people weren't giving you the opportunity, how are you going to go about gaining that experience? So I
Yeah.
remember for me, it was like, okay, how I remember how much I wanted to be on air. And it was just pretty much YouTube was a growing platform at the time, and it was point and shoot, talk about game stories, especially in sports. So that's what I did for 82 games for the Toronto Raptors, right? Like it's just finding a way to really hone in on your skill set, but at the same time, wearing multiple hats. So I had to edit my own stuff. I had to write my own scripts. I had to, really understand how this industry works. And then when I was applying for positions, just knowing that I could do this or I could do that, right? I feel like a lot of these kids who are going into the industry don't really understand that, or feel like sort of a self entitlement in a way. So it's just like really humbling them as well to, let them know your start isn't just going to be on air right away. You have to work your way through the whole tunnel or funnel, if you will, to gain your way up the ladder up to the top.
Yeah, no, you used a great word right there where you said cut your teeth.
Hmm.
Um, like I said, I went to college. I had a good opportunity from a family friend that got me helped me get an internship with E News, and that was my first internship. And I thought I was going to come in maybe as like a page, or I don't know, I didn't know what I was coming in as. But I remember the first day I walked into that studio, they locked the door. One more because I came in late. I was like 5 minutes late.
Yeah.
Locked the door, wouldn't let me in. I'm like, all right, this is a great start to my first day. And then, afterwards, whatever, they laughed about it, brought me in, and I'm like so overdressed. I'm like, it was just the most embarrassing thing. And I remember going back after that first day, and I said, I don't think I can ever come back to that work again. And these guys were actually really helpful. But they made me do something that really changed my career. And so the next day I decided I'm going to come back to the internship. And so the next day I came back, made sure I was on time. But this time they had this 500-foot SMPTE cable. SMPTE is like a camera cable. It's pretty heavy. It's 500
Mhm.
feet long. And they said, before you can come into work, you have to wrap this cable. All right. And I'm like, and you have to be on time. And so so this time I'm on time, but the door is still locked because the cable's not wrapped.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I wrapped the cable. I didn't know how to over under at the time. And so I struggled completely. I didn't even do it. And they said, come on in. You're late to work again, blah, blah, blah. All right. Next time I come into work, or they taught me how to over under that day, and they said, now you've got to come, you have to come into work on time, but before you can come in, you have to wrap that cable. And so then I got to work super early my next internship day, and it at this time it took me about 30 minutes to wrap. There's a lot you have to do to figure out how a cable like kind of wraps, and you have to do it the right way, and you have to do it nicely. And it took me about 30 minutes. And long story short, by like my sixth, seventh day, what took me 30 minutes was taking me about 7 minutes. Now I can do it in probably about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But 30 minutes to 7 minutes, but it taught me so many lessons. And number one, it taught me showing up on time. Number two, it taught me wrapping how essential wrapping cable is in the industry
Mhm.
when you start in the industry. Um, and number three is just doing it the right way and being on dotting your i's, crossing your t's on everything. And so I'm really grateful for that internship because those guys in that studio taught me a lot. And I would have never had that opportunity without um, I never would have gotten that. I never would have had those opportunities, holding the cables and things like that. um, and that's like one of the biggest things is just like getting your hands on the equipment
It,
and
yeah,
learning new things.
exactly. That was me with I'm dating myself, but it was paper edits. I remember being
Uh,
an intern for the Toronto Raptors TV at the time, and it was learning production, learning how to produce, and it was writing paper edits and then facilitating how you wanted the story to go. So that was something I would have never learned if I wasn't in it, right? And if I
in
didn't
it,
have the
yeah,
opportunity in it. Exactly. Exactly.
right, right, yeah.
Yes.
That's one of my biggest things I tell people is like, how do you grow in the broadcast industry? First, you have to be in it. This is the
Yeah.
only way you're going to get their hands on the equipment is to be in it. And so, again, that's kind of what the platform is. The whole idea is try and help people learn from being on the outside, and then once they can come into the industry, get your hands on the equipment and make a career out of it.
I was going to say, in Parker, that's like so important. And I love that you're going to be doing more of that educational side too, because then it also allows those who want to get into the industry the nuances of a specific role within the facet of the field.
Yeah, yeah. You can't learn this stuff in college. Like the
No.
only way to learn it is being in it. And I'm sure that was same with your career path as well. It's like you can take all the classes you want about those subjects, but you've got to be in it. You got to put your hands on it. You got to go through the experiences to learn really how it works.
Exactly. You need that hands-on experience, and that's the only way you're going to learn it. For sure. I totally agree with you. I want to take this moment to talk about your Christmas Day viral video.
Yeah,
That pretty much changed everything, right? Can you
yeah,
walk us through that moment and what it felt like for you, from posting it to watching it explode?
yeah, definitely. So um, I explained a little bit about it earlier. That was right when I went from sports with no fans to behind the broadcast, and that's when I was at about 2,600 followers when I went up to about 6,000 followers. And it was me filming that cameraman on Christmas Day. Um, and when I filmed it, I knew I had something. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this was the best Christmas gift ever. I'm working on Christmas, and rather than like hating myself for it, being away from my family,
Hmm.
um, this was the gift I got from it. And so I remember like I remember talking to the operator. I knew I had something really special. And yeah, and then when I posted it and like Sports Center picked it up, it was like one of the coolest feelings I've ever had. Like and it's a feeling that like I constantly long for as well because it's almost like a drug where it's like, oh, I got a viral video, like millions of people are watching this video. My
Yeah,
whole life I played sports. My whole life I wanted to be on Sports Center. And I didn't get it by playing sports. I got it, sharing a video.
that is so cool. It, I mean, it's, I can relate in the sense of I remember one of my photos that I had taken when I was working at the NBA. It was placing my hand against Giannis's and seeing how much larger his was. And
Yeah,
that was what took flight and made it very viral. It was like on NBA.com. I was like, this is such a cool thing.
yeah,
But it has its moments and places that, for sure that you can
yeah.
really
No,
relive that experience.
it's such a great feeling. Like I said again, I long for it sometimes. Like I just was at the MLB All Stars last week, and I knew I had another really good opportunity, and it was again filming a cameraman behind, doing what
Yeah.
he's doing, and it just hit a million views. And I haven't had a organic video hit over a million views in a couple years now, and so it was a really good feeling again. I was like, yeah, my video kind of made it. It was shared a bunch, and it's just like, and again, like I'm highlighting those people like what they do as well, like because like some of the stuff takes so much skill and such an eye and coordination to be able to capture that kind of stuff. Um, and so it's really it's a special moment for me for sure.
And I feel like people resonate so deeply with your content as well. What has been the reaction that you've got firsthand from those, I guess, within the industry and also those who aren't in the industry who view your content?
Yeah, it's a good question. So when it very first started, I was deathly scared to put my face out there. Um, I was just really anxious and nervous of how people would judge me. Um, being that, hey, you're kind of breaking some rules, or you're bending rules. You're not breaking any rules, but you're kind of bending some rules. You're
Mhm.
using your access to show what's going on. Behind the scenes where technically you shouldn't be showing. Now it's completely like okay these days, but before
Yeah.
it was not. And so I hid myself for like 2 years away from the limelight. The only people that knew who behind the broadcast was were my closest friends. Like it wasn't until I hit at least over 150,000 followers. Was until like I actually showed my face because I felt like once I hit 150,000 followers, there was enough validation there.
Mhm.
Um, and and so now I'm happy to say I'm behind the broadcast, and people come up to me all the time. It's a really weird feeling because like I hate to say it, use this term, but an influencer. I hate it. But people come up to me like, I was in Oklahoma City for the NBA Finals, and just a random person came up to me and was like, "I feel like I'm in the presence of a celebrity," and I'm just like, "No, I'm not. Like, I'm just Parker. I'm just this normal guy, you know." Um, and so yeah, there's always going to be haters.
Yes.
There will always be haters. There are always going to be people to tell you that what you're doing is wrong or that you shouldn't be doing something. But again, it goes back to that belief, and it goes back to your passion and what makes you happy. And this was what was making me happy, and this is my passion. And so I'm going to continue doing it, and I'm going to continue hearing the haters, but not listening to them. The second you let those people in your head is the second you start doubting yourself and not making your goals happen.
Yeah, I've always told myself, I guess when you have haters, that's when you know you've made it. And
Yeah.
to your point, I completely agree. Like you just cannot get sucked into what they're saying and always find a way to be positive about what you're doing because you are doing something incredible and you are changing the way this industry is going in a positive way. Like there's just so much information that we can get out of what we see on your Instagram page as well as on your other platforms as well.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And again, it's people like you, and it's people that, like the person in Oklahoma City that came up to me and told me that, they're in the presence of a celebrity, and it's my family members that really keep me going because, like you said, when you asked about burnout, it's really real. And the people, you surround yourself with people that want to see you succeed. That's one of my biggest tips is just like dig into those people.
And that brings me to, I guess, along those same lines, what advice do you have for someone who's wanting to turn their niche into a passion, their passion,
Yeah.
into a platform, especially when it's, yes, you're fighting with the algorithm, but at the same time, you just really want to build something great.
Look, I don't think it's ever too late to start anything. The algorithm is harder to work with these days compared to when I started it during COVID. I'm not gonna lie, but at the same time, I feel like if you have enough passion and you have enough creativity to share that kind of information, then your stuff is going to probably succeed. But if you don't have the passion, if you don't have the creativity, if you don't want to put the time into it, then you might as well not start it because
Mhm.
it is an uphill battle. It's a very saturated market these days. Social media influencing or social media, is very saturated, and so if you're a mechanic and you have a niche and you want to show what you're doing at work and you want to show how things are being done, I totally think it's doable, especially actually because we talk about the algorithm, right?
Yep.
I think right now more than any time it's better to be a smaller page because before it was your following, whatever you
Mhm.
had, whatever content you had and you posted, it went to your following. Now a page with 500 followers can get just as many views as my page at
Mhm.
321,000 followers. My page at 321,000 followers gets more views than the average million, 2 million page,
Yeah.
Instagram page. And so, yeah, like I said, it's never too late to start. Content is king. If you have good quality content, it's gonna go.
I love that. And what does success look like for you today?
Oh man, it's success is it's a word that I need to dig into more. Um, it's still far away. Success is still far, but I think it's important too to appreciate the small successes and the small wins. Success to me is this is uh, a platform that allows people to come into, offers a lot of opportunities. Um, it's it's kind of retiring me off of the road for 200 days and just working locally in Dallas and being a cameraman in Dallas and just enjoying life while I let the platform sustain my lifestyle. Um, and it's creating new content. It's like the Savannah Bananas thing, right? So we just did this documentary about the Savannah Bananas. It's in the post production process right now. I've invested my whole savings of behind the broadcast into this project. It's about a $40,000 project. Every day, I'm like trying to raise money and talk to sponsors to get to try and to get it to go. But uh, maybe the Savannah Banana Project breaks even, hopefully.
Mhm.
But we're hoping that the product is so good that maybe the UFC or Formula One or something like that sees it and they say, "Hey, we saw what you did with the Savannah Bananas and their broadcast team. Can you come and and do one for our broadcast team and talk about our broadcast?" Yeah, the price is this, and then we have a whole nother project. So success is continuing to invest in these ideas and keep putting in that sweat equity, um, where these projects and money is just kind of continuing to flow in with like sponsorships and brand deals and things like that.
Totally. And for anyone out there who's listening who is thinking about a career in broadcasting, what would your advice be for them?
My advice would be to follow my page.
Yes,
um, this is
exactly.
this is the best information you could ever get if you're interested in broadcast. We are coming out with new opportunities. We're coming out with workshops. We've got a ton of things in the works that are going to allow these opportunities to be more accessible for the average person. Um, but if you want to get out there right now, go to a baseball game, go to a sporting event, look at that cameraman or camerawoman that's working right over there. Go up and talk to them. Everyone's friendly, don't be shy. Go talk to them. Hey, how did you get in the industry? Hey, how did you get this job? Hey, are there who's crewing locally? Can you share contact with me? Maybe I can start as a PA, maybe I can start as a utility and wrap cable. Whatever it is, just get yourself in the industry. And the only way to get in is by finding those contacts. Like, I don't have all those contacts right now because the people in Philadelphia that are running the shows in Philadelphia are completely different than people in Dallas, or they're completely different than people in LA. Now, I know a lot of people in a lot of different areas, but at the same time, like, if you want to get in the industry, go find someone in the industry and ask how they got in, because that's your direct path.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And where can we follow you across all the other different platforms? Are you behind
Yeah.
the broadcast everywhere?
So yes, I am behind the broadcast everywhere. I'm behind the broadcast on YouTube. I'm behind the broadcast.com. I am behind the broadcast on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, um, and yeah, and I'm going to continue to try and grow these pages and grow these platforms, and with bringing on new people and offering new opportunities.
Well, Parker, thank you so much for joining us. I absolutely love what you're doing out there on behind the broadcast, and I am so excited to see what's next and what's going to be coming down the pipeline soon. So thank you so
Oh,
much.
no, thank you for having me. And I love your platform as well, by the way. I wanted to say that in the very beginning, but we kind of got sidetracked.
Thank
It's
you.
awesome. Passion Project, I think, is such a cool idea. And it's like when you first reached out to me and you talked to me about it, and I'm like, this is perfect, because that is what behind the broadcast is. If you have a project and you're not passionate about it, you might as well not even go with it, because you're not going to make money right away. You're not going to get the limelight you want right away. You have to have passion. You have to put in that sweat equity. You have to earn it, and nothing is ever given. You have to earn it. And I would love to continue watching your podcast and seeing what other passion projects you can find out of people, and hear them talk about their stuff.
Thanks so much. It means so much to hear you say that, and I totally appreciate it. And it is a love passion project for me as well. I had an idea just like you and kind of decided, okay, figure out a way and let's do this.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
yeah.
No, continue. Continue.
Oh, I was gonna say from pointing and shooting with a mini DV camera to YouTube when I was doing Raptors post game commentary to then evolving that into a show that got me to the locker room to interview the players. So little steps to get in the right direction to get me to the NBA and then to the Heat. You know,
Yeah.
it's little opportunities and doors that opened from the opportunities that were not given, but, seeked out, and I think that that is really what has helped the trajectory of my career as well.
Completely. Completely. Yeah. You've got it. You've got to seek it out. It's not going to come to you. You have to go get it.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed this, and I want you to have a great day after today. And you've made my day by inviting me on your podcast.
Me too. Thank you. Have a great weekend too. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Passion Project. A huge thank you to Parker for joining me and sharing the story behind the broadcast. What I love about this conversation is that it reminded me of why I started the show in the first place. Growing up, I knew I wasn't going to be a math or science kid, and I probably wasn't going to be a star athlete either. But I did know I was going to find a way to be part of the sports world. For me, it's always been about the stories and learnings that happen behind the scenes and the lessons you don't always see, but that shape someone's journey. And Parker's Path is such a powerful example of that. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to hit the subscribe button, share it with a friend, and let me know what resonated most with you. Until next time, I'm Payal. Keep chasing your passion project, and I'll see you again on the next episode.